Okay, let's start our today's topic. So yesterday we were discussing about the cell divisions. As I told you yesterday that these cell divisions they are of two types, mitosis and meiosis. But every cell which is likely to go under mitosis or meiosis has to pass first through the cell cycle. So we discussed in the last lecture that cell cycle was discovered by Howard and Pillay in 1953. And this cell cycle it is divided into three phases. Its first phase is known as interphase, second phase is known as M phase, which stands for mitosis or meiosis, and the third phase of cell cycle is known as cytokinetic phase, right? So yesterday we were discussing about the interphase. Now you know that interphase it is further divided into three phases: G1 phase, S phase, and G2 phase. G1 stands for the growth phase. So in this phase, first the cell grows in size, a newly formed daughter cell, which is small in size than the parent cell. First grows in size, it carries out growth, it increases its cytoplasmic contents, it synthesizes its new proteins, enzymes, RNAs, and other cellular molecules. So it grows in size and it prepares itself for DNA replication. When it is fully prepared for DNA replication, when the enzyme is already for the replication of DNA, then this cell enters into the S phase, synthesis phase. So before the cell enters into the S phase, it is ensured that it has all the necessary materials which will be required in DNA replication. For example, it has got all the enzymes, it has got all the required materials. In DNA synthesis, new DNA will be synthesized. So it needs nucleotides, nucleosides, it needs phosphate. So when the cell is having all these materials, then only it passes through the G1 checkpoint. I told you yesterday that G1 checkpoint is also known as restriction checkpoint because if cell is deficient in enzymes and necessary materials for DNA replication, then cell will not progress into S phase, right? So after passing the G1 checkpoint or restriction checkpoint, cell enters into S phase. In S phase, there is synthesis of new DNA. So DNA replication occurs from a parent DNA molecule. Two daughter DNA molecules are formed, and in that S phase, there is also replication of the centrosomes, which are likely to form spindle in the M phase, right? Then after passing through the S phase, then cell enters into G2 phase. Cell again grows in size. Cell again carries out synthesis of its cytoplasm, so that all the materials are possessed by the cell, which the cell will require in the process of mitosis or meiosis. So cell carries out synthesis of proteins, synthesis of lipids, synthesis of other cellular molecules. Cell carries out synthesis of enzymes. So when the cell is ready to enter into M phase, so it is ensured by whether the cell is ready to enter into M phase or not, it is ensured by another checkpoint that is known as G2 checkpoint, or we call that as DNA damage checkpoint. At this checkpoint, it is ensured whether the cell has normal DNA content in it. Before this G2 phase, cell had passed through the S phase in which there was replication of DNA. During the process of replication, certain errors might have occurred in this replication process. So in G2 phase, the DNA is first checked whether it doesn't contain any errors. If there are any errors in the DNA replication, either they are repaired, mostly they are repaired before allowing the cell to enter into mitosis. If the repair cannot be done, then the cell is not allowed to go into mitosis, right? Or meiosis phase, right? So the function of G2 checkpoint or DNA damage checkpoint is to ensure that any possible errors which might have occurred in the process of replication of DNA, they are corrected, right? After passing through the checkpoint, then the cell is allowed to enter into the M phase or mitotic phase, right? So today we are going to discuss about this M phase. So this M phase may stand for mitosis or meiosis. So first we will discuss about mitosis. We will discuss about mitosis. As you all know, this mitosis, it is known as an equational division. Equational division. So what do we understand by equational division? The chromosome number of the cell remains same. A parent cell which undergoes mitosis, it forms two daughter cells. If the parent cell is diploid, the two newly formed daughter cells, they will be also diploid. So the genetic material will be equally distributed among the two daughter cells. If you remember in the S phase, the genetic content of the cell had doubled. In S phase, each chromosome before the, in sorry in G1 phase, each chromosome was having only one sister chromatid. But as it entered into S phase, each chromosome developed a sister chromatid. In G1 phase, there was only one chromatid in the chromosome. In S phase, each chromosome developed a sister chromatid because now it contains two DNA molecules, one in this chromatid and one in this chromatid, right? So the genetic content of the cell had doubled in S phase, and it was also present as such in the G2 phase. So we have to keep it in mind that during S phase, the DNA had replicated. A single DNA molecule had given rise to two daughter DNA molecules, and both the DNA molecules are contained in the same chromosome. So this chromosome, it has got a double DNA content. It has got double DNA content. So the DNA content of the cell in S phase has had a doubled. DNA content of the cell in S phase had doubled, but the chromosome number remained same. So this parent cell, which is now likely to undergo meiosis, it has got 46 chromosomes in case of human beings. Each chromosome has two sister chromatids. That means each chromosome has double DNA content. Each chromosome has got double DNA content. Although there are only 46 chromosomes, but in these 46 chromosomes, there are 92 DNA molecules. So, what happens during this mitosis? This parent cell divides into two daughter cells. And in this process of mitosis, these two sister chromatids, they separate from each other. So they give rise, when they separate from each other, they give rise to 92 chromosomes, right? And 46 chromosomes go to this daughter cell and 46 chromosomes go to this daughter cell. So in mitosis, it is the DNA content of the cell, which is equally distributed among the two daughter cells. So the chromosome number of the parent cell is 46, 2n. The daughter cells are produced, they are also 2n, having 46 chromosomes. So how come it is possible that after division, these 46 chromosomes will remain the same in number in both the daughter cells? So it is basically these sister chromatids which get separated during the process of mitosis. And their genetic material is equally distributed among two. The chromosome sister chromatids, they are separated from each other, then they are equally distributed among the two daughter cells. So we have to keep it in mind that mitosis is only equational division, where the genetic content of the parent cell is equally distributed among two daughter cells. Chromosome number remains the same, and the parent cell gives rise to two daughter cells. So how this happens? We will have a look at that. So this mitosis, in which cells does mitosis occur? Mitosis occurs both in somatic cells as well as in germ cells. So now we know mitosis is an equational division. It occurs both in somatic cells and germ cells of the body. So mitosis occurs both in somatic cells and germ cells of the body. So we divide this process of mitosis into four phases. Mitosis can be studied into four phases. The first phase of mitosis is known as prophase. Second phase is known as metaphase. Third phase of mitosis is known as anaphase. And the fourth phase of mitosis is known as telophase. So we can study this process of mitosis into four phases. prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. So we will see what happens in the prophase. We will see what happens in the prophase. So for that purpose, I have to rub this whole content here. So we will start from the prophase. When the cell enters into prophase, when a cell enters into prophase, it has got a distinguished nucleus in it. In this nucleus, there are fine thread-like structures which are hardly visible. These fine thread-like structures, they are the chromosomes. It has got a clearly visible nucleus, nucleolus, and it has got a pair of centrosomes. It had got a pair of centrosomes, right? So in early prophase, when the cell enters into prophase, when a cell enters into prophase, it has got a clearly visible nucleus surrounded by a nuclear membrane. This is the nucleus. This is its nuclear membrane. In this nucleus, there are fine thread-like structures. These fine thread-like structures, they are known as chromatin fibers. Chromatin fibers. Actually, they are uncoiled chromosomes. They are uncoiled chromosomes. In this nucleus, we also find a clearly visible nucleolus. And there are a pair of centrosomes also present. Centrosomes. So this is the condition of the cell when it enters into prophase. So when an animal cell enters into prophase, its nucleus is clearly visible. Its nucleus is bounded by a nuclear membrane, which is clearly visible. Inside the nucleus, there are fine thread-like structures. They are the chromatin fibers, which are actually uncondensed, uncoiled chromosomes. In the nucleoplasm, we also find a clearly visible nucleolus, and it has got a pair of centrosomes. As the prophase progresses, as the prophase goes on, this cell now starts developing some changes. The nuclear membrane of the cell, it starts disappearing. It starts disintegrating. The nuclear membrane of the cell starts disappearing or disintegrating. Chromosomes start, these chromatin fibers, they start coiling up, and then they start appearing as thick rod-like structures, now known as chromosomes. Chromatin fibers, they coil up, and they start appearing as thick rod-like structures. So these thick rod-like structures, now they are known as chromosomes. So chromosomes were not visible in early prophase. They were in the form of fine thread-like structures known as chromatin fibers. Now these chromatin fibers, they coil up, they condense, and they start appearing as thick rod-like structures known as chromosomes. This nucleolus of the cell, it also starts disappearing. It also starts disintegrating. The nucleolus of the cell also starts disappearing. Two centrosomes of the cell, they start migrating towards two opposite poles of the cell. And spindle fibers start to appear in between them. So they start organization of the spindle. Centrosomes, they start organization of the spindle. Now you can see clearly in the diagram that spindle fibers are being formed by the centrosomes, right? This is the position of the cell. This is the condition of the cell in mid-prophase. In mid-prophase. Now, as the prophase progresses on, in the late prophase, what we see the condition of the cell? In late prophase, the nucleus has totally disappeared. Nucleus has totally disappeared. Nucleolus also totally disappears. And chromosomes, they further coil up. And their sister chromatids start becoming visible. The centrosomes, they are migrating towards two opposite poles of the cell. And in late prophase, they have reached to two opposite poles of the cell. They complete the formation of spindle. Spindle formation is completed by late prophase. And a star-like body is developed at the two poles of the cell. This star-like body, which is developed at the two poles of the cell, this is known as ester. So ester formation also appears in the late prophase. The chromosomes, they have now coiled up, they have condensed, and they get attached to, their centromeres get attached to kinetochore spindle fibers. Their centromeres are now attached to kinetochore spindle fibers. Their centromeres are attached to now kinetochore spindle fibers. There are two types of spindle fibers. Centrosomes, they form the spindle. During the spindle formation, two types of spindle fibers are developed. One type of spindle fiber which runs from one centrosome to another centrosome directly without being attached to chromosomes. These spindle fibers which run from one centrosome to another centrosome without being attached to chromosomes, they are known as non-kinetochore spindle fibers. They are non-kinetochore spindle fibers. Then there is another type of spindle fibers which attach to the centromere of the chromosome. This is a chromosome. And some spindle fibers, they are attached to its centromere. These spindle fibers which get attached to the centromere of the chromosome, they are known as kinetochore spindle fibers. These are kinetochore spindle fibers. So, in the process of formation of the spindle, two types of spindle fibers develop. Those spindle fibers which run directly from one centrosome to another centrosome without being attached to the chromosomes. They do not attach themselves to the chromosome. Those spindle fibers, they are known as non-kinetochore spindle fibers. And some spindle fibers, they are attached to the centromere of chromosomes. Those spindle fibers are known as kinetochore spindle fibers. So in late prophase, what we see? In late prophase, we see that nuclear membrane has totally disappeared. Nucleolus has totally disappeared. Chromosomes have further coiled up. Their sister chromatids are now visible. Centrosomes have migrated to two opposite poles of the cell. Centrosomes reach to two opposite poles of the cell, and they complete the formation of spindle. Then some of the spindle fibers, they attach themselves to the chromosomes. Those spindle fibers which get attached to the chromosomes, they are known as kinetochore spindle fibers, right? And some spindle fibers, they run from one centrosome to another centrosome without being attached to chromosomes. They are known as non-kinetochore spindle fibers. And these chromosomes, they are starting moving towards the equator of the spindle. So this is the position of a cell in late prophase. So prophase, we discussed it in three stages. We discussed prophase in early prophase, mid prophase, and late prophase. So when a cell enters into prophase, it has got a well developed nucleus covered by a nuclear membrane. It had got chromatin fibers in its nucleoplasm, and it had got a nucleolus in its nucleoplasm. the two centrosomes of the cell, they were close to each other on the one side of nucleus. As the prophase progresses, as the prophase goes on, slowly the nuclear envelope of this nucleus, it starts disintegrating, it starts disappearing. Nucleolus also starts disappearing. These fine thread-like structures, which were so far known as chromatin fibers, now they coil up and they start appearing as rod-like structures. So we say that these rod-like structures, now they are the chromosome. Centrosomes of the cell, they start migrating towards two opposite poles of the cell. This centrosome starts going towards this side, and this centrosome starts going towards this side. So this centrosome moves here, and this centrosome moves here. So when the centrosomes are moving away from each other, they organize spindle fibers in between them. So this initiates the process of formation of the spindle. In the late prophase, what we see, these centrosomes, they have reached to two opposite poles of the cell. And they have completed the formation of spindle. Spindle formation has been completed. Then we see that there are two types of spindle fibers. Some spindle fibers, they directly run from one centrosome to another centrosome, one centrosome to another centrosome directly, without getting attached to chromosomes. Those spindle fibers which are directly running from one centrosome to another centrosome without getting attached to chromosomes, they are known as non-kinetochore spindle fibers. Some spindle fibers, they attach themselves to the kinetochore or the centromere. This centromere is surrounded by a proteinous disc. That proteinous disc is known as kinetochore. So some spindle fibers, they get attached to this kinetochore of the chromosome. So those spindle fibers which attach themselves to the kinetochore of the chromosomes, they are known as kinetochore spindle fibers. So two types of spindle fibers are formed: non-kinetochore spindle fibers and kinetochore spindle fibers, right? So in this way, spindle formation is completed. Now chromosomes have further condensed and their sister chromatids have become clearly visible. And these chromosomes now start aligning themselves towards the equator of the cell. So this happens in the prophase. This happens in the prophase. So this is the first phase of mitosis. Now this prophase, it is followed by metaphase. We will see what happens in the metaphase. So in metaphase, chromosomes further coil up. They become thick rod-like structures. And they are perfectly aligned at the equator of the spindle. So in metaphase, the chromosomes are highly condensed. The best stage for chromosome study is metaphase stage. Metaphase is the best stage, is the best phase for study of chromosomes. So why metaphase is the best phase for the study of chromosomes? Because at this phase, chromosomes are the most highly condensed. So chromosomes are thickest at this metaphase, right? So what happens in this metaphase now? So chromosomes they further coil up and they become thick rod-like structures with their sister chromatids clearly visible. These chromosomes they align at or around the equator of the spindle. So how do they align or get arranged around the equator of the spindle? So kinetochore spindle fibers, they pull the chromosomes and they align them perfectly around the equator of the spindle. So in metaphase, the chromosomes become further condensed, or we can say the chromosomes are most highly condensed during metaphase. Then these chromosomes are perfectly aligned around the equator of the spindle, right? And then in this metaphase, when the chromosomes have perfectly aligned around the equator of the spindle, then anaphase promoting complex is activated. So anaphase promoting complex is activated, right? So what is the function of this anaphase promoting complex? It allows the transition of this cell from metaphase into anaphase. So it allows anaphase promoting complexes. They allow transition of cell from metaphase to anaphase. So this is allowed only when the chromosomes have perfectly aligned themselves around the equator of the spindle. And how do chromosomes align themselves around the equator of the spindle? So chromosomes are aligned around the equator of the spindle by the help of these kinetochore spindle fibers. So these kinetochore spindle fibers they pull the chromosomes and they perfectly align them around the equator of the spindle, right? So when the chromosomes have perfectly aligned, then anaphase promoting complex is activated, and this anaphase promoting complex it allows the transition of the cell from metaphase into anaphase. So what are the main events of metaphase now? So the first main event of metaphase is further coiling of the chromosomes. Chromosomes they become most highly condensed in metaphase. So for that reason, metaphase is the best phase for the study of chromosomes. So when the chromosomes become most highly condensed, then these chromosomes are perfectly aligned around the equator of the spindle. How they are aligned? They are aligned by the help of kinetochore spindle fibers. When the chromosomes have perfectly aligned themselves around the equator of the spindle, then anaphase promoting complex is activated. And this anaphase promoting complex, it is a cascade of enzymes. These enzymes they allow the transition of this cell from metaphase into anaphase. So these are the main events of metaphase. Now the cell will enter into anaphase. We will see what happens in the anaphase. In anaphase, the kinetochore spindle fibers they start shortening. They start to shorten. These are These are some of the non-kinetochore spindle fibers. The kinetochore spindle fibers, which are attached to chromosomes, they start shortening. So as they start shortening, they generate pressure on the two sides of the centromere. This is the chromosome with the centromere and two sister chromatids. It has got kinetochore spindle fibers attached on one side. It has got kinetochore spindle fibers attached on another side. So these kinetochore spindle fibers, they shorten on this side. They shorten on the centrosome side. As we have discussed centrosomes, I have told you that these centrosomes, they act as microtubule organizing centers. So and I have also told you that these spindle fibers, they are actually microtubules. These spindle fibers, these structures which we call as spindle fibers, they are actually microtubules. And I hope you remember, microtubules, they are formed of tubulin dimers, alpha tubulin and beta tubulin. So centrosomes, they serve as microtubule organizing centers. I have told you that these microtubules, they can elongate or they can shorten by the help of these microtubule organizing centers. So those kinetochore spindle fibers, which have chromosomes attached to them, they start shortening at the centrosomes. And this shortening generates a pressure, a pull, a tension on these kinetochore spindle fibers. So when the kinetochore spindle fibers start shortening, tubulin dimers are being removed from this side and this side. So they shorten. So they start pulling the chromosomes towards the two opposite poles of the cell. Shortening of these kinetochore spindle fibers. Suppose this is a chromosome. It is at the equator of the cell. It is a chromosome and it is at the equator of the cell. It has got kinetochore spindle fibers attached to it. So these kinetochore spindle fibers, they are pulling the chromosome towards this side, and this kinetochore spindle fiber, it is pulling the chromosome towards opposite pole of the cell. So similarly, there are other chromosomes. So these chromosomes, they are being pulled towards the opposite poles of the cell by the shortening of kinetochore spindle fibers. So this shortening of kinetochore spindle fibers, it pulls the chromosomes towards two opposite poles of the cell. When the NF phase promoting complex was released, when that was stimulated, NF phase promoting complex causes the release of an enzyme. That enzyme is known as separase. By the help of NF phase promoting complex, an enzyme is released. That enzyme is known as separase. It degrades cohesin protein molecules. This separate, it breaks down. This separase, it breaks down cohesin protein molecules. These cohesin protein molecules, they are holding, two sister chromatids. Attached to each other. So when the anaphase promoting complex is formed, it stimulates the transition of cell from metaphase into anaphase. In this anaphase, it releases an enzyme. Separase enzyme is released here. So when this separase enzyme is released, it breaks down cohesin protein molecules. Where the cohesin protein molecules are lying, these cohesin protein molecules, they are lying at the centromere. These cohesin protein molecules, they are holding the two sister chromatids together. So when separase is released, this separase breaks these cohesin protein molecules. So when cohesin protein molecules are broken, the two sister chromatids, they separate from each other. They separate from each other. And then the kinetochore spindle fibers, they pull these two sister chromatids towards two opposite poles of the cell. Now these kinetochore spindle fibers, they pull the sister chromatids towards the two opposite poles of the cell. So kinetochore spindle fibers, they are pulling the sister chromatids towards two opposite poles of the cell. And here are the non-kinetochore spindle fibers. So kinetochore spindle fibers, they are pulling the separated out sister chromatids towards the two opposite poles of the cell. So it is anaphase promoting complex, which allows the transition of cell from metaphase into anaphase. So this anaphase promoting complex, it causes release of an enzyme, separase, in the anaphase state. This separase enzyme, it breaks down cohesin protein molecules, which hold the sister chromatids together. When this cohesin protein molecule is broken, when it is degraded, right, two sister chromatids, they separate from each other and they are being pulled by the kinetochore spindle fibers. And because of the pull of kinetochore spindle fibers, these sister chromatids, they separate out and they start migrating towards two opposite poles of the cell. So this happens in anaphase. This happens in anaphase. You can see these chromatids, they are moving to two opposite poles of the cell in a characteristic V shape. In a characteristic V shape. Here it is the V and here it is inverted V. So why they are moving in a characteristic V shape? Because they are being pulled by their centromeres. They are being pulled by their centromeres, right? So when centromere is being pulled, so that moves ahead, that moves forwards, and chromatids and the remaining the arms of the chromosomes, they follow them. Suppose this is a chromosome. Suppose this is a chromosome, and it gets attached to the kinetochore spindle fibers. So when the kinetochore spindle fibers pull it from the centromere, the arms of the chromosomes, P and Q arm of the chromosome, they bend like this, right? And they form the characteristic V shape in this anaphase of the chromosomes, right? So in anaphase, the sister chromatids, they are separated from each other by the help of separase enzyme. So it breaks the cohesin molecules, releasing the two sister chromatids from each other. Then kinetochore spindle fibers pull the chromatids towards two opposite poles of the cell, and they start moving towards the two opposite poles of the cell in a characteristic V shape, right? So this V shape is generated because of the pressure exerted by kinetochore spindle fibers at the centromere of these chromatids, right? So this happens in anaphase. Now this anaphase, it is followed by telophase. Now telophase. In telophase, the separated out chromatids, they have reached to two opposite poles of the cell. And these chromatids, they uncoil. They uncoil again. And a nuclear membrane is regenerated over them. And the nucleolus also reappears. And the nucleolus also reappears. But non-kinetochore spindle fibers, they are still present. Kinetochore spindle fibers, they disappear. But non-kinetochore spindle fibers, they are still visible, they are still there. They have not disintegrated. So what happens in telophase? So in telophase, the chromatids, which have been separated from a chromosome, they reach to two opposite poles of the cell. They uncoil, they uncondense, and they again become thread-like chromatin fibers. They assume again the shape of chromatin fibers. Chromatin fibers. So chromatids which have reached to two opposite poles of the cell, they again uncoil and they become chromatin fibers. Then these chromatin fibers, they get surrounded by again a nuclear membrane. And the nucleolus also reappears. Nucleolus also reappears, right? So in short, we can say in telophase, there is reconstruction of the nuclei. Now in this cell, two nuclei are being formed at the two opposite poles. So when the chromosomes have reached to two opposite poles of the cell, now they uncoil, they become chromatin fibers, they get surrounded by a nuclear membrane, nucleolus reappears, right? And now two nuclei are being formed in the cell. So we say in telophase there is a reconstruction of the nuclei. Two nuclei are reconstructed in the cell. Kinetochore spindle fibers, they disappear. However, non-kinetochore spindle fibers, they still are present there, right? So this is what happens in the telophase, right? So at the end of telophase, now each cell is having two nuclei in it. This cell is having two nuclei in it. So that is all about telophase. Now this telophase, it is followed by cytokinetic phase. It is followed by cytokinetic phase. So these were the four phases of this mitosis. As I told you earlier, that this mitosis, it can be studied in four phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, right? Now, this constituted the M phase of the cell cycle. What is the last phase of the cell cycle? That is cytokinetic phase. Now, that cytokinetic phase will follow here. Cytokinetic phase. So, cytokinetic phase, it is a phase of cell cycle. It is the third phase of cell cycle, right? So, what happens in cytokinetic phase? This cell, it starts developing an invagination. The cell starts developing an invagination at its center. So there are non-kinetochore spindle fibers there. This is one nucleus, this is another nucleus. In it has got chromatin fibers, nucleolus, chromatin fibers, nucleolus, right? These are non-kinetochore spindle fibers which are still persistent there. They are still present there. So spindle does not disappear completely. Non-kinetochore spindle fibers are still there. So this cell starts developing an invagination. This invagination, it deepens. Actually, some contractile protein filaments, they are laid around this spindle. And those contractile protein filaments, they pull the plasma membrane on the two sides, inwards. They pull the plasma membrane on two sides inwards. And this invagination furrow, it deepens. it deepens. This invagination furrow deepens. And finally, this invagination furrow, it meets in the middle and breaks the cell into two daughter cells. At this time, the non-kinetochore spindle fibers, they also disappear. So in this way, this cell, this parent cell, it is cut into two daughter cells by the help of an invagination furrow. As I told you that this invagination, it is caused due to laying of some contractile proteins around the circumference of this cell at the center of the equator. So if this is the equator, at the center of the equator there are some contractile proteins laid around along the circumference. These contractile proteins, they contract and they pull the plasma membrane inwards. They pull the plasma membrane inwards. Finally, they keep pulling this plasma membrane inwards. And finally, at the center, the plasma membrane of the two sides, it meets and this cuts the cell into two daughter cells, right? So in this way, at the end of cytokinetic phase, two daughter cells are produced. Two daughter cells are produced. These daughter cells, they have got the same number of chromosomes which was possessed by the parent cell. So this daughter cell is also diploid. This daughter cell is also diploid. In the parent cell, suppose there were 46 chromosomes. So these two daughter cells, they have got 46 chromosomes. So only the parent cell divides into two daughter cells, distributing the double DNA content which was possessed in its chromosomes equally among its daughter cells. So only the DNA content is equally shared into two daughter cells. That is why we call it as equational division. The number of chromosomes that remains same, right? So in mitosis, the chromosome number remains same. Parent cell divides into two daughter cells, dividing the double DNA content which was possessed in the parent cell into two daughter cells equally, right? So only the parent cell divides into two daughter cells and the DNA content is equally distributed among two daughter cells. So that marks the end of mitosis, right? So as I told you in the beginning that this mitosis only occurs in somatic cells of the body as well as in germ cells of the body. However, there is another division that is known as meiosis, which only occurs in the germ cells of the body. Meiosis does not occur in somatic cells, right? I think this is section part today. Okay, thank you for being with me.